right, so when you're there to accept the delivery, make sure that your size and your color, everyone's getting silver, is the correct size. So if you ordered a standard, make sure that the standard is checkmarked. If you ordered a shorty, make sure the shorty is checkmarked. Down under the bike, you're gonna find a bag with the Onyx logo. That has your charger, your toolkit, and all the accessories to be mounted on the bike. You'll just wanna cut this out. And on the other side, you'll find your wheel and your handlebars. So the first thing you wanna get access to is this bag. You don't wanna cut this bag, you wanna just cut the zip tie. So be really careful with the knife, and then just remove the bag. And then let's open it up and we'll lay out everything on the ground for you.
Second box.
That is your tool kit.
Yeah. We can open this up here.
Really careful when you open that. So this is your license plate mount. This will be mounting behind your seat underneath the taillight.
Cool, there's that.
You got your pedals. These are your platform pedals. And your grease to apply to the threads. Make it easier to go on.
Cool.
You have your 4 display mounting brackets. You have 2 small ones and 2 large ones to complete 2 brackets that go on your handlebars. You have some Loctite for your front axle. You have a Y tool with a 4mm, 5mm, and 6mm hex key. All right.
Cool.
You have some various smaller L-shaped hex keys in 2mm, 2.5mm, and 3mm. You have a 13 and 15 combination wrench, and then you have 2 16 and 18 combination wrenches to attach your front wheel. And that's all the parts that are in the box and tools that are in the box for you to assemble the bike. So in here you're gonna find your charger. You're gonna pull that out. In addition to your 91 volt charger for your 80 volt RCR, you'll find on one side of the charger your 110 plug that plugs into a normal wall outlet. And you'll find on the other side the dongle already attached to your XT60 connector. This is the HiGo connector that plugs into the outside of the bike. So if your battery is inside of the bike, you would plug this into the outside of the bike to charge your bike on the go. If you want to pull the battery out, you just disconnect this connector here, the yellow connector, and you take your QS9 dongle and attach this to the XT90 connector, and then you can plug this into the battery when it's outside of the bike. This is for charging the battery when it's outside of the bike. Once you've gone through the black Onyx bag with the charger, the toolkit, and all the parts, the first thing you're gonna need to do is remove the front wheel. This is not very difficult to do. You can use your scissors or your knife, but you want to cut these zip ties right here. Don't cut the tire or the rim. See, like that, it's ready to go. It's ready to it's ready to blast. So on this side, we're just gonna cut it while I almost cut the cameraman. And just pull this off and remove this very gently. Actually, what I would suggest doing is putting the knife down so you don't scratch anything as you're pulling this off. There's this cardboard protector piece. Don't need that. Don't need any of this cardboard trash right here, so you can just recycle that. And you can see that this tire is already mounted. It's got some air in it, but I would check to make sure that you have at least 35 PSI right here. And if you don't, just pump it up with 35 PSI. In here are your spacers for your wheel. You have a long spacer and a short spacer. We'll get into that in a second. But for now, we're gonna put this off to the side and we'll show you how to mount this in just a moment. All right, let's go. Okay, one of the things that's not in the box is Wolfie, but Wolfie loves mopeds and she loves the RCR, and as you can see, she's ready to roll. Unfortunately, you aren't getting Wolfie, but you do get a set of key fobs and battery access keys. Wolfie, come on, don't try to stand up. Try to do any Jean-Claude Van Damme shit on the bike. So set these aside somewhere safe. Don't lose these because we're going to show you how to start up your bike with these later on in the video. Get these ones. Get some power tool sound effects in here. All right, you're going to move the top clamp through here underneath your bars. And that's now laying in front of the bars. And now you can grab the bars by both hands out here and just rotate it back gently, and then place it, you want to place it in this channel right here and center it in the channel like so. Just pull this back, move the cables out of the way right here, and then we're going to then pull the handlebar clamp, the top handlebar clamp on top, and if nothing is super loose and it doesn't want to naturally pull forward, you can just leave this here while you get your hardware, and then you can start putting the hardware back. So you want to make sure you don't cross thread the bolts. So when you tighten down your handlebars, you want to go in a crisscross fashion. So if I'm tightening here, I don't want to over tighten this until I come over here and start to tighten this one down, and then I'll come over to this side and then cross back over here. So it's sort of doing an X, and just keep doing that pattern until you get the handlebars tightened down. Right now, loosen with your fingers. And remove that one. Okay. So on this side, we have the hardware completely removed on the axle. On the left side, you can do this on either side, by the way. You can pull this nut, axle nut, almost to the end. So you can actually use this as a grip to be able to pull the axle out. So see how I'm sliding the axle out now? And you're sliding the axle out through this block right here of wood, which has a hole through it. And that's what's supporting the front of your fork. So I'm gonna just show you as I'm pulling this out and completely removing the axle. So like I said, it's really helpful to have this nut on one side of the axle, so it makes it easy to grab onto and pull it out. Don't hit this end with your hand or anything like that. You could cut yourself. So just, hopefully it's easy enough to pull out.
You may have to lift up on the fork a little bit to pull this through axle out. Just take a little bit of weight off of it. So lift this up slightly and then it'll slide out.
To mount your front wheel, you're going to need to get access to your axle spacers. Those are zip tied to the rim on one of the spokes in this bubble wrap bag. You have a short and a long axle spacer. I'll show you those. So over here, I'll show you. There's a short spacer and a long spacer. The long spacer is going to go on your rotor side, right there, and the short spacer is going to go on the other side. Okay, so having a friend help lift this up, we're going to guide this in with the spacer. Just put this into the caliper, the rotor and the caliper. Put the axle through so that you can put the other shorter spacer on the right side and then rotate it back to the fork and then push in the axle. And then you have it all the way in. You just want to center the axle. All right, and we'll tighten that down. Okay. To tighten down your axle, you're going to need, again, the tools that you took the axle off with, the 16 and 18 wrenches. You need both of them. And you're going to want to get your Loctite. So we're going to apply a little bit of Loctite on both sides of the threads. We're going to show you what happens if you forget to snip the tip of your Loctite tube. It's not pretty. Oh! Just use some little cutters or a knife to open up your tube and then just apply a little bit right here on the threads, and that's all you need to do. And you can just tighten that back down right here. So you got some thread locker on your threads. And we'll do that on both sides. Going around onto the right side, just adding a drop of thread locker on the threads, and then rotating the nut right on top. So now use your two 18mm wrenches to tighten down your axle. Nice and tight. And you're good to go. Pull out your display and you'll notice that on one side of the display has a thinner black bezel to a thicker black bezel. So the bottom is the thicker black bezel, whereas the top is the thinner one. This has a little piece of plastic that you can peel off, so you prevent scratching it when you're mounting it. Underneath, you have your port for your display port connector that will fit in there. And then you have your USB port for updating the firmware. This is not to charge your phone or anything like that. This is only used to update the firmware on the display on the bike. Okay, so I'm gonna take the display connector and plug it in right here. And then I'm gonna feed the boot into the slot, just like that. Just kind of push it in there, so that makes it nice and water resistant. And then you wanna take the USB port and put it through the top of the hole right here, and then feed it. You're gonna feed it down in front through here. Pull this out. And now we're gonna move everything out of the way right now while we mount the display bracket. So we're gonna just leave it like that. I'm gonna pull out the small display bracket and the large display bracket. I'm not gonna pull out these small little countersunk screws. I'm gonna leave those in the bag because that's to mount the display to this on the side. I just need these screws right here, these first two button head screws. And I'm gonna show you how this kind of goes together. So you take the end without the holes on it and you slot it in here. And then you can see on one side there's a smaller hole and a larger hole. The smaller hole means that the screw needs to go on this side, where the larger hole is the screw head. And then on the other side you see there's a larger hole opposite of the smaller hole, and that's where the screw head goes on this side. So you essentially have one screw head on one side and another screw head on the other. I'm gonna take one of the button head screws out of the bag and place it right there. And then over here, I'm gonna grab the 2mm wrench and just make sure that that fits. So it's the 2mm wrench, not the 2.5. So just place those two here. And now I'm going to move this part over to the handlebars. So you want to face this pointing forward. So you can see right here, this little kind of seahorse looking shape. The nose is pointing forward. So the seahorse is riding with you. Okay? So you see it's kind of riding with you. Okay, so I'm going to place the seahorse in the front of the handlebars, and you'll see that the seahorse has a little mullet going on. So you want to take the small display bracket and just kind of put it under the mullet right there. And then let's take our button head screw, put it through the big hole on the, and then screw it into the bottom of the seahorse right there. You don't want to over tighten this right now. You just want to have, you know, at least 4 or 5 threads. So, you know, good number of turns here. So I put the screw on the back side of the seahorse here, and now I'm going to rotate the seahorse around counterclockwise and then take the other button head screw in the empty large hole and slot that through, and then just tighten that down into the smaller bracket. Again, I'm keeping this fairly loose, okay? So if you look, this is fairly loose. I can just kind of tap it with my finger and it's loose. We're gonna do that on both sides. So we're gonna repeat these steps on both sides. We'll come back to you once we have the other one mounted. So I have the mounting brackets loose in here, right? They're not tight. And I'm gonna just move the display out of the way and line these up, right? Like this, like line these holes right here with the 2 holes here. And then I'm gonna just screw that in. I'm gonna put 1 screw here and then 1 screw on the other side. And then I'll do the same again with the other 2 screws. Okay, I'm just lining up the 2 holes here and then putting in 1 screw on one side and just getting it loose in there, not over tightening it or tightening it down too much, because I'm gonna move around over to this side right here that's loose and just pull this bracket over here and then again slot this screw in right here. Okay, so now I'm moving the display up and kind of positioning it. I'm gonna tighten down the top ones right here so I have a little bit of room to tighten these down. Right in between here. It's a little tight, but you can get this mounted. Come around over here. Tighten these down. Okay, and then once I'm done tightening those, I'm going to come around and start tightening down the clamp right here so that it's not moving around on me. I know the seahorses want to swim, but we want to lock them down. All right. Okay, so I'm just finishing up tightening up the display here. And once I'm done with that, we're going to throw on the pedals and rip off all the foam. I'm gonna look on the top of the thread. This one says right, this is the right side if sitting on the bike. If you want, you can add some grease here to make it easier to thread. I typically don't put grease on there, but just add a little bit of grease on your threads. And then you can use the 15mm tool on the right side. You can just pull this around. One of the tricks I like to do is just spin the crank arm around while I'm holding the wrench, and it will just tighten down for you. Note the other side is reverse threaded, so instead of going clockwise with the threads, you're actually going to go counterclockwise to start the threads. You can add some grease if you want. Like I said, I don't like to add grease. But again, you can hold your wrench and just spin it around and do it like you're on an old sewing machine from the 1800s. There you go. I don't know, the sewing machines are like that in the 1800s, but. All right, so you're ready to shred. All you need to do now is cut off all of your foam out of the way. And you are ready to rock. Okay, you finished your 80 volt. Now you're ready to shred. To get it started, pull out your keys. You're gonna press the unlock button once, and then the lightning bolt twice. You'll see it start up. We'll go through all the functionality and how to operate the vehicle in another video. Now that you have it started, just want to note, when you start up the bike, you're going to be stuck in eco mode. Now that's because, you need to register it to be able to ride in normal sport mode or hyper mode in most states. But in some of the states, or if you just want to ride it around in all the other modes, you're going to need to watch Loophole Culture on YouTube. We'll have a link. They'll show you how to access all the other modes. And once you do that, you got full access to the bike. But right now, this is how you start it, and have a lot of fun watching the other videos. We'll see you on the next one.
Be safe, enjoy, party.